As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be
Oh
a
man,
home
it's
run.
8 o'clock.
And so that'll make it a...
I don't need the spotlight. I shine just fine.
Hi, I'm Karma, and yes, I am a bitch.
Brav Bros. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Brav Bros, your favorite podcast from the bros for everybody. For whoever wants to listen, I am your co-host, Steele Russell, joined as always by the one and only 3-Ep Magoots. What's up, dude?
Long week. I think we said it yesterday.
Yeah.
Which feels like 2 days ago.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I see you too much. It all blends together. I would argue that you just live at my house now.
At this point, yeah. And we have a running joke where it's just like, see you tomorrow. It doesn't really
But
matter.
it's not really a joke because it's true.
I know. But that week, it feels like a full ass week. And it's like 4 days in between Thursday's episode and Tuesday's episode.
Yeah.
It feels like a full ass week.
It really does. We haven't done it in a while, but I wanted to check in. Are there any current events? Do we have anything to update the listeners on?
No, it's tough during NFL season and this much Bravo content. Everything, like it's a full 50-50 split. Like I don't even have time for basketball at this point. It's
Well,
just
that picks
NFL
up,
and then
like, in
Bravo.
the spring anyway.
Basketball I don't give a shit about until after Christmas.
Yeah, we
honestly.
need the second half of the season. I don't really care to watch it right now.
Wait, Henry Kissinger died.
Oh, there you go.
There you
There's
go.
a current event. I don't have anything more to add to it.
Rotten hell. He's a terrible guy. You don't know about him? You didn't know that? That's so funny. You were just caught off guard by me saying rotten hell to Henry Kissinger. He's a terrible person.
I had no idea. I don't know Kissinger.
You're a big
Kissinger
Anthony
lore.
Bourdain guy, aren't
I
you?
love Anthony Bourdain.
Look up his quote about Henry Kissinger and you'll understand.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
I will. I usually am decent when it comes to knowing people, but that one I don't know.
The funniest thing is there's a Twitter account that actually shows, and it's been showing, obviously he died when he was 100, but it's been going every single day, and it's called Did Henry Kissinger Die?
There's a
And yesterday was the biggest day. It had like 5 million retweets. It was awesome. He was the Secretary of State and he had like terrible policies that led to hundreds of thousands of deaths in different countries.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's and then he would like order some strike on some third world country essentially, and then go to like some black tie dinner.
How do I not know
the
about
same
this?
day.
I know stuff like
Yeah.
this.
I know.
Wow, thank you for educating
You're
me.
welcome.
I appreciate that. Well, there you go. That was a current event
Well,
with a little background.
When we were playing video games last night, our friend George was on, and I debuted introed my existence to the game by saying, George, Henry Kissinger died. Your thoughts? And then everyone just started laughing. So, you know how it goes.
There you go. There's your little update. But we have our very first standalone live show. We're headlining the event. It's in New York City on January 25th at the Green Room 42. It's in Times Square. Tickets are up now. They are available to purchase. We're going to make a cool Instagram post, but we've had to do a lot of Instagram posts in the past 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
So we're getting to that one. It's going to be really cool. But in the meantime, if you want to go buy your tickets now, just head to our bio. The link is in the bio. Please come out and support us. Like I said, it's our very first solo show. We are the headliner. So we're nervous, but we're so excited. We want to hang out with you guys, get the support out there. So like I said last episode, which I was going to say last week, but that was yesterday.
Yesterday.
That was yesterday. Like I said yesterday, it's going to be a different format than the live shows we've done in the past. This is going to be what you're hearing now. We're going to sit up there and do our thing. You're going to just see us in our element, podcasting, fucking up repeatedly. You'll be able to laugh at us. Maybe you'll see a notebook throw live. Who knows?
You might, honestly. I mean, it's not going to be the variety show that you may have seen in the past. It's going to be a live taping of the podcast, which is a great blend of everything that we do, because we're still going to get you guys involved at the end. Instead of asking questions on Instagram, you'll be asking questions in person.
Oh, yeah.
That'll convey really well.
Yeah, we might even let you hold the mic. If that gets you to the
We'll
venue.
get somebody out there with a mic. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know that. But usually whoever's out there doesn't give the fans the mic.
Yeah, I was never a fan of that.
If you get out there, if you buy a
Let people
ticket,
speak.
you'll have a mic. Just don't be an asshole about it. Don't go running around and yell at us, all right? Just ask your
I don't think
question.
anybody's going to yell at us.
Just kidding.
I would actually encourage them to be assholes about
Yeah,
it.
no,
Why not?
actually, let us,
Make it fun.
let us feel the love with hate.
With hate.
You know what we like.
Love hate.
You know what we like. But anyway. Hey, my wife's in the kitchen. She heard that. She's not supposed to hear the banter until she listens to the podcast, and we're not in the same vicinity because now she's making fun of me and said that we're weird.
Yeah, Dev, we don't kink shame.
Yeah, no kink shaming here, Dev. And now this is going to be in the podcast. So, joke's on you. Anyway, it's our second episode of the week, our second recap episode of the week. So it's Rose and Thorn time. So why don't you kick us off there, pal?
I'm going to start off with my thorn because it was a thorn because it's really funny.
Okay.
Somebody commented on the YouTube we have up with Craig
Okay.
about our conspiracy theories. And it's kind of what we talked about with your brother yesterday.
Uh,
Somebody chimed in and said, please don't talk science if you aren't scientific.
I replied,
Please believe what you say, even if you aren't qualified to say it. What does that mean?
people believe.
Oh, I thought it said, it does say people, yeah.
People believe
Are
things.
I guess, you know what, that's kind of my fault. The
Yeah.
influencing thing is probably coming back to bite me on
Well,
this
no,
one.
like I commented on that. I replied, and then she replied back to me because I was like, if you thought that was like actual science talk.
It was not.
And I said, and then my next comment was, with all due respect, Kristen, we're wearing tinfoil on our heads.
Yes.
And she was a good sport. She replied laughing. So, hey, no harm, no foul. We thought it was
I
a
just
fun
thought it was
interaction.
really fun. It's not even a real thorn. It's just a really funny comment because that segment was just supposed to be outlandish things that we talk about.
Oh, I know.
And I feel like we prefaced it well enough.
But here's the thing, to the point she was trying to make, which is funny, is that's how crazy the internet is now, though. People
Yeah.
can make a video like that being wholeheartedly truthful or trying to be, and people will be like, oh, that's real.
Yeah, somebody
definitely
will
real.
send just that little snippet somewhere.
And
You're like, look at these idiots talking about tornadoes.
yeah, and some more will be like, that's probably true. Have you ever seen a tornado? Don't Google it. But have you ever seen it? I haven't. Don't research
I
it.
feel like the tinfoil hats are a dead giveaway.
Yeah. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah, I'm going to carry on to my rose. And my rose comes from a review that we got recently. I don't know if it was this week or last week, but it was a nice long review from our friend Alexa, who said, essentially, I'm going to slim it down a little bit because it's a nice long one, which usually we get on YouTube. We always talk about those long reviews on YouTube. This is the first long one that I've seen on Apple. But she breaks down pretty much what makes our show so great. And it's just me and you, pal.
Hey.
We've got a great dynamic. We blend well together. You take things a little more seriously than I do. You're a little softer than I am, but that's okay because of your personal life experiences. Shooter's not afraid to say what he wants and always backs it up with what he's saying. Good balance. I'm a big fan of that. And she even threw in a juxtaposition. So, you know what? We can't go another episode. I think we went yesterday without juxtapose, though.
I think we did.
That's
the first one ever.
We're 1 for 107.
Ever since that word was introduced, I would love to know what episode it started.
We did have like 4 or 5 straight episodes where one of us would say a word, and then we started calling it out.
Yeah,
too.
the hot word.
I was
word
like
of the
last
day.
summer.
It's hard. It's hard not to. We say certain words.
Yep.
The funniest part is they're usually words where the first time I say it, I'm like, ooh, that's a good one.
Good word.
And then I say it again, and then by the 5th time, I'm like, you're overdoing it.
And I've already said it 3 more times in between that because I like the word a lot too. Yeah.
We're a good juxtaposition to one. All right, on to my rose and thorn. Let me start out with my thorn because this was just whatever. It was on Twitter or X, whatever. It says, so you'll hold Juan, a basketball coach, accountable, but not Trump, who was the American president, for the disgusting shit he has done and continued to do. The things that make me say, what? What are you talking
Wait
about?
till they hear my rant about Kissinger.
Look, man, shut up. Seriously. That has nothing to do with
Nothing
Trump.
to do with anything.
What are you talking about? We don't do politics around
We
here.
actively avoid them.
Yeah, but what a ridiculous leap. We're talking about Juan Dixon and Robin Dixon and their weird arrangement or not arrangement. Don't do that.
I feel like that's a little insulting.
What a reach. But I genuinely laughed out loud when I saw it. I was like, what the fuck? How do you jump to that conclusion? But on to my rose. And that is just a very nice review, and it made me happy because this is a second review from the same person. From Runtage, and says, my favorite Bravo recap show. I've left a 5-star review before, but had to do it again. You guys are my favorite recap pod for Bravo. I listen to a lot of them, and they're all different, but I love that yours is an actual recap show with your opinions. Please keep it going. And you know why I like that one?
Why?
They liked us so much, they left 2 reviews.
I didn't even know you could do that.
I didn't either, but hey, Runtage, we appreciate
Yeah,
you.
we appreciate you. I'm
Yeah,
going to start
well-
leaving 5-star reviews all the time.
Yeah, you can pander to it. You can leave 10 of them, and you'll probably get a rose. If you're pining for a rose and have yet to get one, leave like 10 reviews. You'll probably get one.
You'll at least get shouted out.
Or that will lead to some 1-star reviews,
Yes.
and you might get a thorn. It's a win-win. But anyway, Let's move on. I think one thing I want to talk about, we haven't done news in a while, but the one thing that I want to discuss, because it'll lead us into RHOBH, is PK and Dorit are making the rounds again on social media because of the episode that Sutton had on Wednesday. Now, PK went on the defensive because Sutton said that if Dorit can be picky with, or not be picky with PK, then maybe Sutton can be less picky.
It was a funny comment. There
Funny
ain't
comment.
nothing wrong with it.
It was super mean. No, it's super mean. Like,
Yeah.
really, really mean to PK and Dorit, but funny.
Yeah.
It was funny. But here's the thing. PK goes on the defensive and kind of shoots himself in the foot a little bit because he puts something up from his DUI, I think, and he's saying like Sutton's trying to drag him or whatever. By the way, hun, I wouldn't give you one date, let alone a second date. Like, dream on. And that's where people saw that and were like, what makes you think that she would want to date you in the first place, PK? The people went off on this
Yeah.
guy. And I get what he was doing. I think his tact was wrong. He shouldn't have went to social media.
Yeah. But I mean, you can't have a moment like you had last season where you sit down and laugh about what Erica said to Garcelle's son
Correct.
and then not be able to take it back. It just tells me that you can dish it, but you can't take it.
Yeah, PK. Because look, it was a funny dig. And also, like, as we've seen, Sutton's saying some wacky shit this year. So to take that seriously, that you felt the need to go on the defensive on Instagram. And meanwhile, when we watched that episode back as well, like, Dorit's not being very nice to Sutton either.
No.
So it's one of those that I can chalk up to a both sides are kind of jawing at each other. PK's collateral damage, I understand that, but he shouldn't have jumped in because I get what he was attempting to do,
Right.
but he doesn't come out with a W here. This is
No.
an L for him.
And I feel like for these shows, as much as during the actual course of the show for a lot of these franchises, it's nice to see the husbands check in here and there.
Yeah.
I don't want them in the news. I don't want you
No,
responding
no.
to shit that happened in the episode. Shut
Nope.
up.
Nope. Someone left a comment like PK's trying so hard to be the next housewife in Beverly Hills.
That's what's going to happen.
You're never going to win.
No.
So again, I get what you're doing. You're not going to win that battle. Not around here, pal. But that takes us to Beverly Hills, and this first scene pissed me off quite a bit. But it is what it is. But we start out with Dorit and Crystal and Kyle, and they're recapping Sutton and her behavior recently, in the Magic Mike show, and specifically when Kyle was over at Sutton's house. And yeah, it was bizarre behavior. We've commented on that already. My issue with the whole thing, and kind of with Kyle in general, I get that you can have an issue with Sutton, but the way that she talks to her, regardless of that issue,
Mhm.
anytime I see them conversing with one another, I see Sutton trying to be a friend for the most part. Like, obviously, we see those scenes where she's not, like when she was at her house being erratic,
Yeah.
for sure. But for the most part, she seems to make an effort when they're cool. Even when they're in a good place, I feel like Kyle's always condescending when she talks to her.
Definitely. I feel the same way. And I think that even when you look back and you watch what happened in Vegas, she wasn't comforting Sutton as a friend, as she says that she is. And I feel like she's got that kind of, I don't want to call it delusion, but she has this idea that she's there for Sutton and she's just trying to kind of guide her to maybe better behavior. But you're not, because when you sit down and watch the actual scene, you're very condescending the whole time. You think you've got this big sister tone, but it doesn't come across like that. It comes across like you're being an asshole.
Mhm.
Is that excusing any of Sutton's behavior? No. Sutton's behavior is super fucking weird. Very strange this season. Obviously, we think that there might be something else going on, and maybe we'll get to that eventually. But for right now, what this is showing me is Sutton, I don't think she's going to take any ownership of her weird behavior because she's a quirky person in general. Kyle is being just as weird,
Yeah.
and she's not acknowledging that at all.
I think that's where my frustrations lie.
For sure.
As well. You can be in the right, Kyle, by saying Sutton's not being awesome right now.
Yeah.
In a lot of the scenes, you're right. Like, we're not arguing that point. It's just funny because you could come out on top here if you were just nice back. And then you have some room to stand where you're saying, yeah, she's being a dick to me and I'm just trying to be a friend. We would probably sympathize with you and be like, oh shit, Sutton's wrong. Kyle, comeback season. But instead, because you're taking the route that you're taking and getting defensive and throwing daggers at her back, it's just lost in translation.
And I feel like the main point for this, at least this kind of head-to-head battle that's going on right now, when Sutton's talking about what Kyle's doing, she's talking about all recent behavior.
Yes.
Even though we've seen Kyle in the past exhibit the same exact behavior as she's been,
Sure.
it's obviously a little more extreme now than it was. But when it comes to Sutton, she's kind of always been like that, and nothing has changed. She's doing all these things for the better. She's changing her health habits, whatever you might have, but she's still reacting to Sutton the exact same way. So nothing has changed there. Sutton is using anything that's happening recently When Kyle starts talking to Sutton about what's going on with her, she never point blank says, "You've been a little weird recently. What's going on?"
No.
She brings up shit from like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, how many times is Bravo going to show a clip from 2021 or 2020 when Sutton's using the face roller, which, by the way, still want a face roller?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody please send us a face roller. It looks fucking epic. But you can't keep referencing these things that have happened years and years ago and say, your behavior has been crazy. It's like, she's been doing it for 3 years.
Maybe so.
Maybe that's
but
just
it's
her behavior.
consistent,
Yeah,
right?
it's very consistent. And at some point, it's got to show as this is just who she is.
No,
Kyle is changing.
I agree with you. And I had like an epiphany, I think, with Kyle.
Ooh.
And we'll get to that in a little bit.
All right.
But it really, something clicked while I was watching the big, obviously, Morgan Wade scene.
Mm-hmm.
Things started to click. Between that and the Mo scene, I think I got it. And I'm going to lay it on you in a little bit. But
Okay.
during this first scene, this is what pissed me off. They're sitting there, and obviously there's been speculation about Sutton and her drinking. And Dorit, she chimes in with this one too, and saying stuff like, I wouldn't be surprised if she puts vodka in her coffee, and little things here and there. Now, as the resident alcoholic, I do feel the need to step in here and say a couple of things, simply because I don't think a lot of people understand when it comes to this stuff. These kind of allegations, these kinds of things are pretty damaging. Like, throwing out the word alcoholic to somebody that is not an alcoholic can give them a stigma. It sucks that there's a stigma attached to it, but it is what it is. Now, on top of that, playing devil's advocate here. If Sutton does have a drinking problem, okay, I don't believe that she does. I think that we're seeing erratic behavior. It might be alcohol fueled in moments, for sure. Maybe she was drunk with Kyle. We don't know. Not defending it. But let's say she does have a problem, okay? If you are saying these things, when you say this to an active alcoholic, if you're accusing them of doing certain things, we take it upon ourselves to prove you wrong, not by not drinking, but by drinking and hiding it better.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing. So when people do shit like this and say things like that, if there's somebody actively using or drinking, you're pushing them further away. Allegations and accusations never work. Sit-downs and conversations do from friends. That's the crazy thing. If Kyle just flat out sat down with her, as she wants Sutton to do, just say it. Have the balls to say it. Then you need to have the balls to say it. Say to Sutton, hey, we're concerned. Are you drinking? Is there something going on? You've been acting erratically lately. The thing that Kyle's not getting, what's not clicking for her, is you're not getting answers for Sutton because you're being a dick about it.
Yeah.
If you went about this approach, as Sutton has tried to do a little bit, by being friendly, by saying, hey, I messed up, you're right, I was totally off. I'm sorry, this is what I was going through. Instead of you firing back angry, if you talk to her as a friend, you might get the answers. If she does have an issue going on, if she is drinking too much, maybe she'll talk to you about it and you'll help her out instead of going behind her back, saying stupid shit that's really damaging. It's really scary if somebody is drinking too much because you're pushing them in that direction, and it's just ignorant and it pisses me off.
I think that's fair to say.
Thank you. But but anyway, I'm glad that Crystal stepped up to defend her and pretty much point out just what I was saying. She said it on TV, which is great that, you know, those kinds of things, there's a lot more weight to what they're saying than I think that they realize. So I'm glad that she spoke up. But we move on from there and we get Garcelle and Sutton. And we have to point out, I forgot about the bacon thing. I totally forgot that Sutton's vegetarian but crushes bacon.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we were reminded of that. But they do a little movie night recap. And they get to the Sutton and Kyle topic, which is clearly going to take center. It's going to be Mo and Kyle, and I think Sutton versus Kyle this season. That's what I'm gathering. Do you on the same page?
27 episodes of it, yeah.
27 episodes of that with little to no recollection. Recollection. Jesus. Little to no, what's the word? Reconciliation at the end of this. But this is where Sutton points out to Garcelle. She's like, I'm upset that Kyle is defending Erica. She doesn't ever have my back. She's starting to, I think, see how one-sided the friendship has been for the past.
And it's got to be frustrating.
Absolutely. It would be really frustrating because when you hear Sutton talk about their friendship versus when Kyle talks about it, when Sutton talks about it, they're very close, or at least were, or at least she thought that they were.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where we're going with this whole thing. And it's always so painful to watch Sutton try to articulate what she's trying to say, because I know what she wants to say, because we've been saying it for the last year and a half at this point, and she's just having such a hard time doing it. I'm happy that later Garcelle can step in and just say what she's trying to say.
That was so good.
But we understand where she's coming from, because I feel the same way. when Sutton is looking at Kyle, or at least in the past when she looked at Kyle, she looked at her like a real friend. I don't think that Kyle's ever looked at Sutton like a real friend, but that could be more to speak towards how Kyle views friendship in general.
Mhm.
Aside from where she is with Dorit, I don't think she's that close with anybody else on the show.
She doesn't seem to be.
No, I mean, obviously you get the pairings that are kind of going on here and there, but I could point to a couple different people and say, no, that's a friend of Sutton's, that's a friend of Sutton's.
Maybe
All-
Erica.
Erica, yeah, to an extent, but I think that Erica at this point can get along with everybody on the show.
Jeez.
It never really seems like
Just
that
wild.
genuine of a friendship, but she's there and she's happy,
She's able to put a face on.
which is more than we could have said in the past, honestly.
Absolutely.
But with this, it's just tough to watch because, again, we know where Sutton's coming from, and we're saying, just come out and say it. You haven't been a good friend recently, and I'm realizing it.
Mhm.
Finally realizing it. It took you a couple of years, but you're finally realizing how one-sided the friendship is. Kyle's never going to be able to realize that. Kyle thinks that she's being a really good friend, and she's just Sutton's the one that's lashing out. Like that's not what's going on. You've been lashing out, if you want to look at it that way, for the last 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. And during this scene with Garcelle, she lists off like the changes, and I'm glad that Sutton at least has examples, like you said, recent examples.
Yes.
Like with Sutton's behavior.
Yeah, when people pull in shit from 5 years ago, it's like that's
I
not
agree.
relevant.
But the funny thing is, like, she has enough recently where you can point to, yeah, she's acting off, but
Mhm.
just keep it there and then ask her politely, hey, what the fuck's up?
Yeah.
Instead of being a dick. But she lists off the things. We got Mo in the tabloids, right? We got the article there. Then we got the wedding band. That's changed. She changed her ring. We've got her hanging out with Morgan Wade, all of the questions there. And I think Sutton's biggest issue is that if we were actually close, and this was like the light bulb moment for her,
Yeah.
I guess, if we were really close, you would have talked to me about this stuff by now. Garcelle, great confessional, because she goes, I haven't seen any new jewelry. Or what did she? I wrote it down. She said, the only
How the
jewelry.
hell does Sutton even recognize these
Yeah.
things?
How does Sutton recognize these things? The only jewelry I notice is after Dorit's robbery, because hers was still there.
Yeah.
And then she takes a long sip from her drink.
Yeah,
which
that was perfectly
shady as
placed.
hell. I loved it. That was such a good moment. But we get a dinner between Garcelle and Jax. And look, this, we've said it before, but this might confirm it because it's genuine. This is who this child is. He might be the
You don't even
most
call him a child. You can call him a man at this point.
man. Yeah, this is the most mature 15-year-old I've ever seen and listened to
Blown away.
because he's so emotionally present. Like he breaks down everything. It makes sense. It's probably tough for Garcelle to hear because she's like, wow, he's grown up now.
It might be the most clear statement ever made on any of these shows, and it came from a 15-year-old son.
It's
Like, it doesn't make any sense. They always beat around the bush with all the dumb bullshit, and they never know what they want to say, and they're always beating somewhere off. Oh, man, beating somewhere off. Whoops. Didn't mean that one. But no, that's
Freudians.
a little Freudian slip. Someone's beating off somewhere. He's sitting there with his mom, and he's able to say,
I can't breathe. Go ahead.
okay, all right.
Ooh.
Anyway, he says things that just make the most sense than anything I've ever seen on TV.
Yeah.
For him
especially
to
on these
have-
shows.
For him to have that kind of perspective on his mom and dad and be able to pull away and say, yeah, I mean, this is something we always talk about.
Yeah.
Living in this era, especially when your mom's a housewife of one of these big shows, there's news that comes out. And what are the kids going to think when they grow up and everything? What are you still laughing at?
Can't let it go.
You can't let it go. It's so funny. But what are you supposed to do when your kids turn 15 and they have access to the internet? They're going to look up all the cheating scandals that happened. What happens when Dorit and PK's kids grow up? What happens when, obviously, Kyle and Mauricio's kids are pretty old? They know what's going on and they've probably understood what's going on. But for once, we finally get it out there. He looked it up when he was 8 years old.
8 years old.
8 years old, this kid looked it up.
Oh, dude.
Found out what was going on, and then had 7 years to process it. Got to sit down on the beach with his mom and say, yeah, you know what? I could have used a parent 2 years ago, but I figured it out. Now he's sitting down with his mom at dinner, ordering Wagyu steak,
Great order.
Great
A5
order.
Wagyu.
great
Good
order,
man.
and talking about how he doesn't hold it against either of them. It is what it is. It happened, and it really sucks, but he doesn't blame her. That brought her to tears. Nearly brought me to tears.
Damn right.
Damn right. Emotional as hell over here.
Yeah, real softy.
Yeah, big softy over here. But no, for something like that, I mean, a mother-son, a beautiful, I guess, moment between a mother and son like that is exactly what this show is supposed to be about. We're done with the dumb
Oh,
bullshit.
What?
We're done
This
with
is
all the
what Beverly
bullshit.
Hills is all
toxic.
about.
This is what Beverly Hills is supposed to be about. It's reality TV, not dumb bullshit TV. All right, guys?
Shooter had an epiphany. Who'd have thought? But anyway, moving on. We got Kyle. That was a good breakdown. I agree with you.
Yeah,
I
go
just-
beat off somewhere.
God damn it. Now we're back. But we get Kyle at the tattoo parlor, and we finally get to see Morgan Wade on TV in person interacting with Kyle. What was your first impression of Morgan Wade?
Fucking most cringe scene I probably have seen.
Really?
We've gotten a lot of them. That was so weird, dude.
Well, so that
So
to me,
weird.
the chemistry was very real.
Ugh, it was gross.
But it's real and it's palpable. Like there's like that giddy, like almost young.
And then her
love
accent
energy.
too. And like, look, I like a southern accent, but then you threw it into all of this, and it just kind of made it weirder for
To
me.
dude, it plays like a rom-com almost, honestly. Like
Ugh.
this whole thing. But here we go. All right, here's my Kyle theory. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. All right. And this is combined with the scene that we see with her and Mo later. Okay. So all this stuff has continued to come out about Mo over the years. All right. When I see the interaction between the two of them at home, and I see how she kind of cringes at the comment that Mo makes, like, I'd like to see that tattoo more often, implying that he'd like to have sex. And she's like, oh, well, and it gets kind of awkward in there.
Mm-hmm.
Their connection is no longer existent. When you see them in the same room, there's tension. I'm leading to the conclusion that I think there's something more here. I don't know if this was the straw that broke the camel's back. I don't know if this was building up and she got one more rumor and maybe she doesn't have proof, but maybe this was it. She just can't put up with this shit anymore because there's something that has happened between these two. All right. I firmly believe that. Now,
Between Kyle and Mo.
between Kyle and Mo, yes. So now, because of that, and then she decides to get sober and she goes through this transformation. When you get sober, whether you're, and this is what I think people don't understand, especially with all the peer pressure that she's getting to drink or to be fun again, quote unquote. When you stop drinking and you're free and clear from alcohol for an extended period of time, even if you are not a functioning or active alcoholic, it does change who you are. You're going to see things differently. Going through life without that crutch of having a substance to get through things changes your perspective on a lot. If she's changing her perspective of her marriage, growing into a different person, and she sees this 26-year-old country music star that lives the life that she's never been able to live. She's never been able to be free. She's never been able to express herself the way that she wants to. This is somebody that embodies a lot of the things that she's never had. That's exciting. She's going through this transition in her life. That's exciting. So she's leaning on this new thing away from her husband who has scorned her one too many times and now is going down this path. Could you call it a midlife crisis? Yeah, you really could, because I think that she's acting on impulse and things that feel good to her because maybe she hasn't been able to in the past. And I'm at a point now where I'm trying to see it from a place of, okay, is she making some weird decisions? Sure. Is this a little bit erratic and we don't understand it? Yeah. Could this be a midlife crisis? Absolutely. But if all of these things are playing into the reasons why she's making these decisions and put on top of that her best friend committed suicide, then I think it's very clear that this did not start with Morgan Wade, in my opinion, because she was wanting to do something romantically. I believe that this is somebody else that was sober. They share that connection. They started talking. She felt all these things that she hasn't felt just from a life perspective by hearing what Morgan does and going around with Morgan. And I think that something came out of that. I think there was something that happened romantically from this, but I don't know if it's a negative thing. And I think that is what's going on with Kyle.
I think that's a pretty good breakdown. I don't know how you're able to take that from this scene because the overlaying tone of the entire scene, I couldn't get through it.
That's what I got.
I'm glad you got something from it
And
because
as I was sitting
couldn't.
there, I was like,
I will say, you did say that something came out of it.
Yeah.
I think someone came out of it too.
God, what are you on tonight? What the hell's the matter with you?
No, dude, the entire fucking thing, it's just so strange. She's sitting there, she's like drawing circles on Morgan's arm. It's gross. Like, I just don't like it. You're married.
No,
Like,
that's
just
fair.
don't fucking do this on live TV.
That's
I
very
don't
fair.
like that. That's such bullshit. You're clearly flirting here. There's something very palpable in the air. I get why we need the scene, but
Sure.
it's super fucking uncomfortable. I don't want that. I did, however, have the thought that you could be sitting there and maybe if Kyle got this like script tattoo that was like MW for Morgan, but it was like kind of vague a little bit, and the U was a little, or the W was a little weird. It kind of looked like a U.
Like Mo.
It could be Mo.
Oh. No, they didn't do that, though.
I know.
That's not
but
what
I
she
think
got.
she can do that.
But it's too late now.
I'm going to DM her.
The cat's out of the bag.
I'm going to DM Kyle, and I'm going to say, hey, got a great idea.
They're separated.
Got a great idea.
Why would you get the tattoo now? They're separated.
Maybe she wants to get back.
Go for it. DM
Okay.
her.
All right,
See
I'll
what
let you know.
happens.
I'll
Yeah,
report
I'm sure she's a big fan of ours. But we get to Sutton and the matchmaker, and Dorit joins the fun. And holy shit, I bet she regrets inviting her because this scene was bizarre. We get them, and this is after Dorit's had the conversation with Kyle, so she's already slanted against Sutton. She already thinks that Sutton's being an asshole again. So she comes in with a little vinegar. She's not being very nice. And they're going through the candidates. All of them sound like viable candidates to me. I would date them.
I would date
They're
them.
CEOs.
Yeah,
They
good
own
dudes.
media companies.
Yeah.
Like, they buy
A
up
little
yachts.
wine, long walk on the beach.
Sure.
Sure.
She doesn't like that.
Nope.
Does not care for the monochromatic look either. But that's where we get if Dorit fell in love with PK, maybe I don't need to be so picky. Now, it's almost as though Dorit knew she was going to say that because Dorit, after the matchmaker goes, the one thing that I can give Sutton, she's very self-aware. And Dorit's like, that's interesting because the one thing I could say about Sutton is she's the most not self-aware person on the planet. She's actually erratic, angry. You never know what you're going to get from her.
Yeah.
Like she just drags.
I don't know if it's self-awareness. I think it's a little hypocrisy. Like you can't sit there. I do agree with Dorit. You can't sit there and analyze these guys. A guy who's wearing black on black on black and a tux. Yeah, maybe he's trying to look like Bradley Cooper in The Hangover.
Oh,
But you can't walk into a fucking date with a cat sweater and say, this is me. I'm not going to excuse it.
I agree.
That doesn't make any
Completely.
sense.
That's not my point. I'm
Yeah.
not saying Dorit is wrong.
No.
I mean, I don't think Sutton has no
But
self.
again, Dorit being there in the first place is an odd choice.
That's what I'm saying.
Very odd choice.
It was an
But
odd choice.
I think she did help. I think that Dorit was at least excited to be there to help out.
Yeah, but she took a couple of digs in there, which I thought was like,
Yeah, that's the trade-off you get, though.
I guess-
you get some good advice, but you also get a couple of digs in there.
okay, yeah. I mean, she landed on a candidate, I believe, but then at the very end of it, she makes a vodka joke again. So now she has pointed out all of your flaws.
Yeah, 1 to
said
2
you're an
bottles of
alcoholic.
wine is way different than 1 to 2 bottles of vodka.
Yeah, I know. Trust me. But we can't. Then Kyle and Morgan FaceTime happens, and this is furthering my belief here because again, just watch. You know me, body language guy. Watch how they interact, man. It's whatever that is real. Okay. For
Yeah.
better or worse, that's a real thing there. But I had no idea that Kyle was the one that tattooed Morgan. That's crazy.
It's bizarre.
Like you shouldn't tattoo other
It's
people.
an intimate thing.
That is an intimate thing.
Yeah.
You're marking her body permanently with your initial.
Yeah, I don't like it.
And I guess my big thing is what you're saying is, yeah, like they are still married, so to do it on TV, but that also furthers my theory because it almost seems like Kyle's using Morgan on these shows as a fuck you to Mo.
That's what it seems like. I mean, obviously, the music video certainly was a fuck you to Mo, and
Absolutely.
it was a fuck you to everybody else that's sticking their nose in her business. But again, this is what you sign up for on this show. You've been on the show for fucking 25 years at this point. You should understand when things are going on in your life, and it's around the time that you need to start filming for the show, it's going to come out.
Yeah.
You play it this way, you look terrible.
It's
It
not
doesn't make any sense, but I don't think she cares.
She doesn't seem to.
Well,
and-
she does, but she doesn't. She doesn't care enough to talk about it in front of her
See,
friends.
Actually, I disagree because I think she can. I think you're about to say what I just keep going.
Yeah, but I feel like she cares enough that she wants, like Morgan Wade wouldn't be on that fucking show,
No.
but she cares enough to have Morgan on the show because they have a very unique friendship. Yes, a woman who is twice your age stalked you on Instagram and reposted you, and this is just cool with us? We're supposed to be fine with that? That's cool. No, it's not. It's weird as shit.
Yeah, it is. And look, it deserves to be called out. I'm just trying to see the whole picture here.
I
That's what we do
I know
here.
what you're trying to do. I'm focused on one little
It's
pixel
fine,
and I
but
hate it.
This is what we do here, all right? But anyway, we get to Kyle's and she's having that THC dinner. And we get a lot of housewives there, housewives from previous seasons, and we get introduced to the new housewife, Anne-Marie Wiley, who is married to Marcellus Wiley, who
Yes.
played football for a long time.
I think he's on ESPN or Fox now too.
Is he?
Yeah.
So obviously, and people have brought it up, there have been some allegations come out against him as it is an ongoing thing. We're not going to talk about it because we don't know what's going on with it.
I will say he's a cowboy, so screw him.
Yeah, for being a cowboy, fuck you.
Yeah.
But we are not going to talk about that until more stuff comes out. As the information presents itself, we'll discuss it at a later date.
Welcome to the world of housewives.
Yeah. But anyway, Denise is back. And oh boy, is Denise back.
Yeah.
Was she hammered?
I think
what was
she was
going on?
hammered.
Is that was
Like-
yeah?
I at least give her props for not adding THC to the mix, too.
Yeah, no, that was good. It was just like she came in like I was like, whoa, I haven't seen you in a while, and here you are.
Well, we saw her at the movie premiere,
Yeah,
but that
but
was
the-
just like a quick little high and by
One-off.
pretty much. And she, I mean, again, I feel like when she came into the movie thing, she looked like Denise, at least. She looked like she was hammered.
Yeah, and I don't know what's going on. Maybe we'll get a little bit more shakeout over the season, but it was, I mean, she was clearly not herself.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna get the second half of that dinner to start off next week
I
too.
do too.
So maybe we'll get more of that because we do find out, and we have found out through channels that this is a crazy Denise season.
Yeah.
So there's some wild behavior that she exhibits. So we'll have to see what happens. I think that'll probably be the start of it,
Mhm.
just based off of what we saw in the first half of
I
this.
mean, she breaks the fourth wall almost instantly.
Yeah,
Looks at
it-
the camera and is like,
immediately. Yeah.
It's just like
Welcome
someone-
back.
Someone made a meme. It was like Jim from The Office.
Yeah,
To the camera.
it's so easy. But I do want to ask you,
Yeah.
because this is how I feel about cannabis dinners.
Okay.
Petrified. I am afraid that I'm just going to get higher and higher, and then I'm going to just be so out there. He broke it down really nicely, and it was
Yeah.
really cool. I want to trust him. Chris was his name. I want to trust Chris. 30-year-old limber guy, according to Erica.
Uh-huh.
That's exactly who I want to trust. But I feel like I'd probably die.
So I think that he obviously knows what he's doing
Mm-hmm.
because if he dosed them too high,
Yeah.
that crew would just sue him because they have a lot of money.
That's a good point.
So I think that one you can trust.
Could have been a
It's funny-
placebo.
It's funny you said that because I actually know somebody that does that.
Okay.
And I think it's very specific because they don't want to be known as the people that don't know how to do it. You won't get repeat business. You want
Right.
people to have a good time. I thought it was hysterical that Dorit goes with one. Give me one THC, please. 'cause
Well, I'll take one. I'll take one
I'll
THC.
take one THC.
One cannabis.
I
One
don't-
cannabi.
One cannabi for me, please. I don't think it's going to do much, but hey, at least she's
Just
at
do
least
zero.
she's partaking.
Exactly.
She's
That's a good
partaking, and
point.
that was cool. But the big thing from this dinner, and we do get one callback between Faye Resnick and Camille, and I don't know a whole lot about this feud. I'm sure we'll catch flack from that. I will say, while this scene happened and they played the scene back before, I was walking in to get water, and I heard like an echo.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's because Dev was reciting along the quote word for word. So apparently that was a very iconic
I
moment.
guess.
But we should know more about it. We don't, so I'm not going to say something that gets us.
Is it relevant anymore?
No, but it's iconic, and iconic places hold places in people's hearts. So shut up before you say something dumb.
I wasn't gonna say anything left.
Good.
Yeah, I'm good.
But we get Sutton and Kyle's conversation, and this is where I got really frustrated. And as you can see, I'm playing both sides here. I'm trying to see where Kyle's coming from at the same time. I don't condone her behavior this season.
Yeah.
She's had a run of bad seasons, and it sucks. But they're talking, and Sutton says, I was off. Because Kyle points out, you were really off at your house. She goes, I was. You're right. I'm sorry. This is why. And look, could you point and be like, hey, I think you're making an excuse? For sure. But at the same time, like, she's opening up to you. And if you guys are friends, and for me, even if it is an excuse, if this was the only time I saw Kyle exhibit that behavior back where she's being snippy and short with her, I'd be like, all right, she just like, she's had enough.
Right.
But I've seen her do this even when they're cool.
Yeah,
So
because-
that to me is like, oh, this is just your response to her, no matter what she says.
Yeah, and that's the type of friend that Kyle is. She thinks that she's that really close friend that can see through the bullshit and
Right.
call you out on it. But there's a level of comfortability there where you need to be able to trust the other person that you're talking to say, okay, yeah, no, you can see through my bullshit. You're right. I'm sorry. It's much bigger than that, whatever you might say. Or I don't really feel like talking about it right now. I shouldn't have made the excuse. Whatever you might happen from that conversation. Kyle does that all the time.
Yeah.
Even if it's the truth. Kyle, if she doesn't agree with what you're saying, and it's not what she has already made up in her head, she's not going to accept that as a form of apology.
Mhm.
She can't get past it. She has to keep digging and digging and digging. That's not a true friend. That's just an ass.
Yeah, you're just trying to get a reaction out of her. And that's
No, I think she's trying to keep Sutton out of her, whatever's going on with Kyle.
I agree with
Because
that too.
and that would work, honestly. If you're thinking about it on a logical level, you try to start pushing towards the other person and say, what's going on in your life? What's going on in your life? I mean, it could backfire. It did. but it's got about a 50% chance, I feel like, where
Yeah.
you might be able to get in there and then eventually that person's going to shut down and leave you alone.
Sure.
You don't have to worry about it. Instead, it backfires entirely, and now all of a sudden everybody's focus is on Kyle.
Yeah, and what Sutton was saying is that her ex is moving to London, made a call to her saying that you are moving too, and you're bringing our son with us, and that's what's going to happen. And Kyle's response sucked, man.
Yeah.
And like, that was where I was like, dude, just humor her because you're being such a dick. You're like, yes, so the kid's leaving or trying to leave.
So you had the same thing happen when you sold the house in Bel Air. It's like, so what?
And then you bought another house in Bel Air. You're missing the point of the whole thing, and you look like an asshole again because this is a big change in her life. So she's trying to relay that to you and have a conversation, friend to friend. You're acting like it's not even, are you acting like it's not a big deal? You're making a joke out of it. You're like, oh, so you have to hop on a plane? Like, yeah, for some of us across overseas, living in a foreign country is a big deal.
It's a lot longer of a flight than we have, too.
Yeah. And the other thing is like, she gets stuck on what she's saying because then, and this is, if she was a true friend to Sutton, then she would know that Sutton, when you press her, she doesn't articulate things well. So
Right.
when she says something like, and he's going to pay more child support, I'm going to have to deal with that too. You can look through that and understand she's not complaining about getting more money.
No.
She was flustered and just started saying shit, and that came out of her mouth. You know that that's not a problem. Anybody watching knows that's not a real problem. Sutton herself will watch that back and understand that's not a real problem.
Yes.
But when you get stuck on the little details, that to me tells me that you're just deflecting. You saw an avenue in which they said something wrong, they took a misstep, and let's hammer that home to derail the conversation.
It's either one of two things. Either one, you just dislike Sutton to a certain extent that you're willing to just keep pushing her and you do not care, which we've seen Erica do in the past because her and Sutton did not get along. That made sense to me. This doesn't make sense because Kyle still walks away like she's a friend. I can't imagine that she'd be doing this and asking me these questions. It's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
You've been doing this. This is what you've been doing for years. You can't belittle her moment because once you finally broke her down and got her to say, this is what's going on, it's word vomit after that. Because you know what? She's been dealing with more. There's a lot of extenuating circumstances that come from the main issue of her ex moving to London and wanting her to move with the son. Like, there's a lot going on there. Yes, of course, there's 15 other details that have also been sitting on her brain. And we know that because we've watched her on TV. You're supposed to be a friend. You should know that a little deeper.
But when they actually sit down at the table, and look, this is where, again, I can fault Sutton. Like, Sutton should not have pulled her away right before they're sitting down at the dinner.
Yeah.
Especially knowing that it probably wasn't going to go very well. And now the whole night's ruined. And that does bug me. I know it's part of the show. But if people plan these dinners and pay these people, and like, as a chef, I know how fucking mad I get when the stuff is out of the oven, ready to go,
Right.
and I have to sit there with it. And now I'm giving you a lukewarm plate of food. It sucks.
Well, I don't think the food was ready. I think they were just about to explain what the
No, I
dinner
think it
was.
I think the first course was ready, and that's.
Oh, okay.
But regardless, I mean, I think that was rude on Sutton's part. But as they're sitting there, kind of going back and forth, this is where it's like grow some balls and just say what you want to say, because she points out to her the changes in her life, and should she have said something about her eating habits, Sutton to Kyle? No, she probably shouldn't have mentioned the eating. But that's different than Kyle turning around and saying, you never eat. You just push shit around your plate, because what Sutton's alluding to is a drastic change in lifestyle for
Yes.
Kyle. Hey, what's going on? Because you used to eat more. Is everything okay? That's noticing a difference in somebody. What she throws at Sutton is a long-term eating disorder without a start or end date. She just
Yeah.
says, this is who you are always. You always hide what you're eating. So you have in the same episode accused her of being an alcoholic and having an eating disorder. And that's my point. Like, when you start throwing daggers out there, the approach is important. I get it was the low-hanging fruit because she came after you and what you were eating. Maybe that's where it came from, and maybe there is some merit to that. But I'm just saying, when it comes down to issues like that, it's just, it's always better to avoid it, because you're never going to win, because you look like a dick regardless. But when they start talking about evidence, and I love this because every housewife chimes in, because Garcelle finally points out, Kyle's like, grow some balls. And she's like, what's going on with you? She's like, what do you mean? And Garcelle just has to do it. She's sick of hearing people. And then she goes, Your marriage, Kyle. What's going on with your marriage? Why do you have a new ring?
And this is why Garcelle is so important to this show.
Vital.
Because every other show, it just kind of goes on and goes on and goes on. But when Kyle's sitting there yelling, tell me what you want, like, tell me what you mean, grow some balls over and over again, I feel like the question is, okay, what's going on with you?
Yeah, here it is then.
What's going on with you? There doesn't need to be a specific question in there. There's clearly something going on. Why don't you talk about it? You are very erratic right now. Obviously, Sutton is too, but we're used to seeing Sutton be erratic. You're getting erratic because Sutton's erratic, and clearly there's something else going on, and everybody at the table knows it. Every single person sitting there, maybe not Denise because she doesn't even know where she is, but the rest of the people that are there, they know what's going on. And finally, we get Garcelle, our savior for this show, coming out and asking the question point blank. And that's what flustered Kyle the most.
Yeah, I know. She got stuck. And then she goes, it looked like a makeup band to me.
Yeah.
What's that? It's like when somebody buys you something because they fucked up and you forget about it. And that's
I did love that every single person on the table
so
was like,
funny.
well, usually he buys me a car. I think I got an Aston Martin the last time.
I wrote them down. We got a cross,
Yep.
which Erica laughed and said, did it catch on fire? Funny. We got an Aston Martin, cards, plural, and cars. So that was the 4. So everyone there that's been divorced or gotten in a situation like that was like, oh yeah, here was mine, which was funny, but also a little bit more damning towards the ring. Kyle gets flustered and flat out says, you want my husband to have cheated on me. Is that what you want? It's like, no, that's not what she said.
At all what we want.
No, everyone's asking you what's going on because there's tabloids saying that happened and rumors out there that happened. And congruent with those, you're acting differently.
Congruent. Wow.
There we
look
go.
At you.
We're going to use it 50
I
more
love
times.
that.
But with all of those things layered together, yeah, what's going on, Kyle? What's going on? Because that's a lot of shit, and that's okay. But these are supposed to be your friends. It's supposed to be a show in which you talk about these things, and you're actively, this is what tells me that this was not for the camera.
Yeah.
Because she's doing her best to not talk about it on camera.
Well, and then I do hate that they pan across, and obviously everybody's got the gasp reaction, everything that's going on. Dorit, you know what's going on.
She knows everything.
Stop acting like you don't know what's going on. You are not a good actress. You always make the same face when you act like you think that you don't. You want people to think that you don't know what's going on.
Yep.
And then you ask and you go, oh no, I'm completely in the dark. I have no idea what's going on. Yes, you do. We've known that you've known what's going on since your weird little pretty in not pretty in pink. Why do I want to say pretty in pink? Whatever. Since your weird anniversary.
Oh,
Pretty Woman.
Oh,
Pretty Woman. Yeah.
It's like Pretty in Pink.
Pretty in Pink. 16 candles.
Oh man. But now you know what time it is. Miami time. Bow, 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 bow.
Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. 305. Bam, bam, bam.
I love that he went from 305 to Worldwide, though. Such a big step. Such a great step for Pitbull.
Mr. 305 to Mr. Worldwide. Good for you. That's how you expand your reach.
It is. That's absolutely. And I do believe him when he says that.
I do too. Do you remember LimeWire when you used to like
course.
download the songs and you just have like random like The Empire?
Yeah.
What?
I miss that. You actually can get that on, if you go on Apple Music or Spotify, there's certain mixtapes that still have it.
It was so good. What was the other? Where'd you find this one?
Yeah. No, it was McLovin.
What?
Yeah. The guy who, the actor who does McLovin did that. Where'd you find this one?
Oh, really? Oh, wait. I remember a
Yeah.
clip of him doing
Mhm.
that. Oh, no
Yeah,
way.
it's really good.
The Empire. I could be that guy. But let's move on to Miami. We are starting out with Marisol in a sling. And I tried to give her credit last week. I was like, she's not going to play this up too bad. And I
It was a
appreciate
harder
that.
fall than I remember.
But she's
when they
wearing a
replayed it.
sling undiagnosed. But it was funny because as she's walking around in her sling, which is bedazzled with a couple of Chanel pins, I
Yeah, of
believe,
course.
which is really funny. We get Kiki stroll up in a walker, which at first I was like, oh, she's making fun of Marisol. I was like, oh, wait, no, didn't she like tear her Achilles or something?
I no, it didn't go that. I think she had like a high ankle
High-
sprain though.
High ankle sprain's a big
That's-
deal.
yeah,
That shit
not a big deal.
hurts.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's just funny seeing all the damage
the
from this.
celebrity basketball
That
game.
they played a collective. The whole group
Yep.
played collectively 5 minutes.
Yep.
And that's the damage that was done.
Impressive.
Yeah, it's difficult to do, but they start talking about Adriana and they point out that we pointed it out last week as well. That whole thing started over farts. And when you're in the bathroom and hear them talking about you talking about farting, you can't get upset.
I love that there's a word for it in Creole.
Oh, and a pete.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that word too.
I also love what Kiki said instead of flatulence.
Fartulence? That's a better
That's a
word. It
better
makes more
word.
sense.
Yep,
She's
definitely
right.
does.
English is confusing. Fartulence, you know exactly what it
English
means.
is definitely the worst
It's
language.
got to be the worst language. And the way that we speak is we
It's
just
a
like
nightmare.
lazily talk through the language. Yeah, we get it. I get why other countries think it's gross. Kiki's upset with Larsa because I guess they're really tight. And ever since Marcus came in the picture, she has not gotten to hang out with her at all. And there's no one-on-one time. And she said that everybody in the group texted her to check on her or called her after the injury. And Larsa has not yet. And that was somebody that they used to bop around together, I think, many times a week. So now it's like 0 FaceTime. And she doesn't want her to be in a bad relationship. She's happy for her. But at the same time, she just wants a little girl's time. She wants to hang out with her friends.
Makes sense. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're watching this in real time with their relationship. Larsa is the type that's just all about the relationship, completely just
dude.
abandons her friends.
But they're both that way. Like watching their, we'll get there. Hold on.
Yeah.
Because the next scene, we get Todd, Alexia, Anthony, and Nicole. And I didn't see this duo or this couples duo going.
No, but it was hilarious the whole
School
time.
was so funny. And I think it's because, and again, I think Anthony and Nicole are very normal.
Yes.
I think Anthony's making fun of Todd this whole time. Did
I
you
think
get
so,
that?
too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what I got. And I thought he was doing it in a nice way. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, you're just taking digs at this guy. And he's trying to laugh it off. But he's like,
I get the feeling that Anthony doesn't really, he clearly doesn't give a shit about Todd.
could care less.
But he even brought it up right away. Like, these are things that he's been thinking about that him and Nicole and clearly his secretary have been laughing out behind closed doors. He's like, I'm just going to tell him. Like, I don't care what his reaction
I
is.
thought it was fake.
What's he going to do? He wants me to take a 7-minute apology video? Like, he went in on everything that we've been saying about this stupid video and everything else that's going on. And then Alexia even joins in and goes, I thought that the video was done and you still had 5 minutes left.
I know.
So Todd was just like on display at this point for all of his weird actions, rightfully so. I feel like, look, credit to Todd, he took it well.
He did
He didn't like lash out. He didn't make any weird comments on top of it.
No.
That was okay. I mean, obviously everything else is crazy, but
It's bizarre because then he starts talking. Like the story keeps changing, and this is the thing, and this is what Alexia and Todd don't get. The more you talk about it, the worse it's going to look because now they keep talking about it, and he's like, it's not even a single person. It's like the group energy. Pretty much the vibes are off in this group. When we get together, shit hits the fan. You're not wrong, Todd, but I thought it was Adriana. And Adriana's telling everybody it's Alexia is the problem. So who is right?
until you show up to one of these events and squash it, everybody's going to keep talking about it. And I feel like the telltale sign for this, that clearly Anthony doesn't really even want to be friends with Todd. If he wanted to be friends with him, he would have looked him in the eye and said, dude, just go to the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Go to the party. Start going to things. Everybody's going to keep talking about it if you're missing. If you're a true friend, you're going to say something like that. Anthony doesn't give a shit about Todd.
No, he doesn't. He just thought it was funny, and it was a funny scene. I enjoyed the scene. It was really funny that they had to knead pizza dough for 45 minutes.
Oh, dude, yeah.
But we get to talking about the fuck cancer event, and I love that they'll say like F cancer, and it's always bleeped out on the screen.
Yeah.
But
it's bleeped out with E and then asterisk, asterisk, asterisk.
Yes.
Instead of just EFFF.
Whatever. Whatever. But to Alexia's credit, she's like, I don't want to bring the vibes down at the party. So like whatever's going on with Adriana, or I'm not going to start any drama. And to her credit, I just wanted to point it out now so I don't forget. She was cool, calm, and collected at the party.
She was.
Who wasn't at the party?
Lisa?
Marisol.
Oh, Marisol too, yeah.
When Marisol's not there,
That's a good point.
she can be friendly.
I know.
She might not be cool with Adriana, but she can at least not go over the top. If Marisol was there, Marisol would have poked her. Alexia would have went off. I guarantee it.
Maybe. I feel like there's a bigger elephant in the room, though, so I don't think that it would have happened either way.
I don't know, man.
I think if Marisol was there, it would have been a whole Adriana thing with Marisol and Adriana. And yeah, maybe Alexia would come to the defense of Marisol, but there's so much more happening there, and it's a much more real situation. I don't think that they would have. Look, for everything that Alexia is, and I do think that she's made strides since we started watching this show, at least again when Marisol's not around, I don't think that she would have trumped that whole thing, because I don't think that anybody knows how to deal with what's going on with Larsa and Gertie.
Fair. I don't know. I think...
No,
I don't know.
Actually, no. Adriana would have absolutely started that shit, though.
Oh, that's a good point.
1,000%. It's her house.
You're right.
You're in my house. I'm going to start whatever I want.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's what would have happened. But the next scene was so cringy. I didn't like watching it. I don't need to watch it again. And I'm not going to listen to their podcast because we get a scene of them filming and recording their, what are those called? It's pretty much like a plug. Like we have one that you might hear.
An ad that, yeah.
Like you might hear it for other podcasts, like in the beginning of the
bumper
episode.
ad,
Yeah,
I
it just
think is the
bumps
tech.
in there. It's like I think ours is from like our first month of doing this, or like our first 6 months, and it's like, "What's up, bros?" What we probably need to update.
I think
it.
we also did the back and forth thing too.
Did we? Yeah, we need to update it. But
I'm sure it also took us about 45 seconds to do.
Oh yeah, for
in
sure.
total.
But these two are going back and forth, and the cutesy shit is I can't watch it. She's like, "You do it. No, you do it. I love you so much. I love your face. I love your face, babe. I love your voice. It's so sexy. I'd marry you if I didn't even see your face. Oh yeah? Well, I love your voice too. Hopefully we don't make out on the camera."
Just knock it off. Enough. We had to deal with it already. I don't need to hear you redo it.
That's all I could hear. And it's been stuck in my head ever since. But they get into the family dynamic a little bit.
Nah.
Not really,
Yeah.
but a little bit.
They,
Like,
they didn't answer any, which is annoying as fuck.
they didn't answer any of the
They
questions we
did
want.
this
though.
podcast to answer our questions, and they didn't answer a goddamn question.
Because you're not talking about Michael.
Yes,
This
that's
is
all we want
about
to know.
Michael. That's it.
Like Mike.
Like Mike. We're not talking about his mom. We're not talking about Marcus's mom.
Look, for what Marcus does, where Marcus talks about Air Jordans constantly,
You
which
should
is
talk
already
about
getting
your
annoying.
dad.
I don't even know if he works for Air Jordan. I imagine he probably doesn't. But he keeps talking about it. Talk about your goddamn dad.
You keep
For the love
dropping.
of God.
You're talking about the shoes.
Talking about the shoes.
Talk about the man.
Talk about the man.
Damn it.
You're right.
Yeah. But anyway, I didn't care for the scene. But
No.
the next scene, we talk about this
Oh,
sometimes.
wait. Because of the Michael Jordan thing, we got that confessional where the producer asked Larsa point blank,
Oh, yeah.
did you talk to Michael? And she goes, I'm not going to talk about that.
Yeah, she's not going to fuck with
She's
Michael
never going
Jordan.
to talk about that.
No.
Because we know that it's deeper than that. You can't keep telling us that you've never met him before. You've met him before. He was 4.
Marcus?
It's gross.
It just doesn't track. It doesn't make sense that you never would have crossed paths. It simply does not math. Okay?
Math ain't mathin'.
Math don't math. But regardless, the next scene, like I said, we talk about this frequently.
Uh-huh.
There are certain scenes that we should not be privy to. This is one of them.
Yeah, I didn't like this one.
No, this was
I
sad.
mean, the car ride there was okay,
That was enough.
but it sucked for me because in that moment during the car ride, I was just reminded over and over and over again how much I want Adriana off this show because she annoys the fucking shit out of me.
Mhm.
Like Julia is just trying to be nice, and Adriana's making it all about herself. This is a party for Julia's wife. This has nothing to do with you because you had to throw your house at it so that people could come over to your house. I know what she was trying to do.
Absolutely.
You got to come over to Adriana's house, and now I get to have the upper level on everything, and I get to be included in everything because this is my house. That's what you wanted to do. You wanted Marisol to say no, and then look, Marisol was probably going to say no regardless. I think
She was definitely leaning no.
she was leaning no already, and then it was a confirmed no as soon as you found.
No, I think she was leaning yes.
Oh, she was leaning yes. I
I
think she
believe
was
she
already
was.
leaning no.
I don't know.
I don't think she was going to go.
She was
but,
closer to going than, obviously, as soon as she heard it was Adriana's house, she's like, oh, I got
which I don't even blame her for because we know what Adriana's going to do. And look, I'm not a Marisol excuser by any stretch of the imagination. I also want her off the show. But at the same time, I know what Adriana's going to do. As soon as she shows up, she's going to make it all about her. This isn't about you.
No,
Stop.
especially right now. No.
Adriana makes everything about her, and it drives me fucking insane. But yes, I do agree. We should not have been behind those closed doors. That was tough. I may have skipped through.
Yeah, and like,
I did skip through.
you know, the one thing with Julia, and this is why I like Julia, is Adriana wants her to be upset about this. She's like, she was going to come, and then she was at my house. Now she's not coming anymore. And Julia's like, she said no. The
Yeah.
reason is irrelevant. Your issue with her is not my issue with her. I'm not doing this. I have other people to call. There's way too much going on to worry about Marisol not being there when there's 100 other people coming.
But that's
and
what
I gotta
drives me
sing.
crazy.
I gotta sing.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
no,
She's got
I'm
more
not
shit to worry
concerned
about.
Marisol.
No, and that's
Probably makes it easier because you guys aren't going to fight at my party.
yeah, like that's a good thing. But it drives me insane. If you do not like Marisol, then why do you care if she's not going? You should be happy.
But here's where it breaks down for me. And watching her go through this shit with the ketamine trip. Because that's not fake. She's on drugs. So she's sitting there and her reactions are real. And
Yeah,
this is where it's sad. And you're reminded Adriana is very lonely, man. And she is very sad. She says, I want to be the person I was before. Like, while she's annoying, while she's having a rough go, she's not saying the right thing. She starts shit all the time. You're reminded of why. And that's hard. And it's something that I think that she probably wanted out there so that we can resonate with a little bit more and be like, yeah, She gets on her nerves, but fuck, man,
I'm not falling for it.
I am.
I'm not falling
Hook,
for it
line,
at
and
all.
sinker.
I can keep two things separate. I don't think that we should have been watching that scene at all. And if she
No.
insisted on putting it in there, then that's on her. I'm not buying it. I don't care. You can't say you want to go back to who you were before. All I see is the same behavior that you've exhibited for the last two. I keep
agree with
saying
that.
behavior exhibited, but this is what she's been for the last 2 years. I'm convinced fully that this is just who you are, and you're annoying as shit.
And I'm not, it's not an excuse. I'm not trying to excuse the behavior. I'm just understanding it more. And that makes it more difficult. That's all. But moving on from that, we get the F1 yacht party. And
Dude, we watched a little F1.
we did watch some F1 in
Always watched some
California.
F1, yeah.
Like 2 in the morning. Or no, not even.
It was 2 in the morning here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we were
11
watching
out
F1.
there.
We were going to go to a barcade, and instead we sat down and watched an entire F1 race.
Watched it from start to finish. It
Through
was
Vegas. It was that one.
electric.
It was a fucking blast. I
Yeah.
didn't know what was going on. Didn't know who was in first until they would say it out loud because I don't understand. The passing doesn't make sense because then they pull in the pit stop and people pass them, but then they catch back up.
I had it sort of figured out during the race, and now if you were to ask me, I wouldn't be able to.
It's gone now.
Anything. Yeah, it's
But
gone.
regardless, thrilling. I get it. I understand why people watch it now.
It's pretty sick.
It was
Well, I
pretty
mean, it
cool.
depends on who you ask, because other people would say they just want to be there for the parties and the hookers.
Yeah. What?
I don't know.
You're you hung around Lenny too much.
Yeah, that's way too much Lennyism.
You know, guys, the husbands go with the hookers. It's the F1 tradition.
We go to the parties and we dance. It's
We
just
go
what
dance.
happens.
They go with the
We
hookers.
don't even watch the race.
Ask Lenny. He broke it down for me. I signed a contract. No, fucking dirtbag. But they're at the party, and Kiki is upset that Larsa brought Marcus and that Lisa brought Jody. And I get it. There needs to be that time where you can go bop with your girls. You can have a girls' night. Go hang out on a yacht. Like, have some fun. Be stupid, whatever, without the dudes there. And I think another part of it is Kiki does not have a boyfriend. And I think seeing it constantly is getting on her nerves. She's like, all right, I get it, guys. Like, you're in a happy relationship. But by the way, stop hanging out with them 24/7, 365.
Right.
That's not natural. Come hang out with
Right.
me. I miss you guys. And I felt for her there. But they start talking about the conversation with Gertie. And we get a quick cut back to Gertie talking with Lisa. And Lisa refuses to tell her who told her. But Gertie, being Gertie, and she's the best, she planted this.
Mm-hmm.
She set this up intentionally. She told a select group of people and told Larsa, knowing that Larsa would spill the beans. Larsa does spill the beans. And what happens after this? Every week we say she can't possibly go lower. There's no way you could go lower than you are now because you're already so low. And yet she's lower.
I don't know how she does it. How do you feel about Lisa, the way that she brought that up to Gertie?
Didn't
And
love it.
Really, I'm fully fine with that because I feel like Lisa, we talked about it before. Like, how are you supposed to get that information and then be told later, hey, actually, I don't even know if Larsa prefaced it by saying, don't tell Gertie that I told you this at all.
No,
I think she just came out and said it, but I feel like Lisa at least has some brains and said, I didn't hear this from Gertie directly, so I'm not going to bring this up to her. But at the same time, she's a concerned friend and she hasn't heard it directly from Gertie. And it's probably been bugging her. It's probably been eating away at her. So I'm okay with her asking Gertie and then refusing to say who said it, because then you're still showing allegiance. But at the end of the day, Lisa's not the bad person. It's still Larsa.
I can agree with that, I guess. But I guess for me, when it comes down to it, and Gertie's the one that told a certain group of people, like if I'm talking to you and the same situation happened, I'm like, I told 3 people and I know who it was.
Mm-hmm.
You can't sit there and talk about my cancer diagnosis. You want to know more about my cancer diagnosis, but you won't tell me who told you about it. I think that there's certain things that Trump being a snitch, we got to stop saying that word.
Snitch?
No,
Trump.
You said it once.
Get it.
We had it in the comments. People are we're gonna hear it again. But
Trump versus Juan Dixon. Everybody knows.
Just ask our commenter. But I think that with this, if it's a cancer diagnosis, she deserves to know who spilled the beans because nobody should be talking about that.
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
It's such a sensitive topic. But Larsa, my God, she called Nicole to ask if this was real. When she found out that it was a test, she's mad. She says, I'm sick of this shit. Does she even have? I saw her drinking. That's not a rule. I saw her drinking and she's getting upset and she's getting angry. Like, who tests cancer? Like all these crazy things that she's saying, questioning a cancer diagnosis. And look, I know this is Bravo and we've had some fake cancer diagnoses in the past with Brooks from OC. Like, I know it's happened. But Gertie, this is your friend, dude. She told you she has cancer and you're on the defense. You're playing defense against her. All you have to do is say, I'm a piece of shit for how I reacted to this. I'm so sorry. What can I do to support you?
You could spin it so many different ways. And look, I'm not
Literally
trying to
any other
support
way.
Larsa at all. But she could have spun it and said, I feel like it's unfair that you didn't tell the rest of the girls, so I took it upon myself because I don't want to be worried by myself. I don't want people to understand that I had a party later that day, and if I was breaking down and I was sad about things, I couldn't keep it to myself, and I'm really sorry, but now they know, and it's there.
Yeah.
You could do that. You could even say, I feel like you wouldn't want to be in a position that you have to sit down with all these girls and tell them, so I took it upon myself to save you the time, save you the effort, save you the energy, whatever you want to say. You don't do this.
No, this is the last
this
thing
is
you
just
do.
deplorable. It's disgusting behavior.
You definitely don't double down and call Nicole after this
Yeah.
and say, is this real? Because now you're bringing other people into it. It's just
God.
disgusting, dude. It was absolutely disgusting. I can't stand her. She's my least favorite housewife of all time.
Yeah, she's awful.
She's a bad person. It's not fun to watch.
No,
for me.
there's people that do it clearly for TV. I think that Lars is just a bad person.
That's what I think so too.
With a stupid podcast.
Yeah, with that podcast.
Hanging by a thread. Separation anxiety.
Separation anxiety is an even worse name. Is that you can't.
Separation anxiety is insane. He was gone for 4 days.
4 days.
Fucking lunatic.
You had a party for him. But we get to the fuck cancer party, and Gertie looks incredible. She shows up in the gown or whatever. She looks great. Everybody looks great. Martina shows up and she's swaggy as shit.
I like that they dressed up for this. This
I do
was
too.
a good, yeah.
Yeah, everyone
Everybody
looks
looked
awesome.
good. Yeah.
They do. And it's going to be a great event. And I think the biggest thing here is to keep the main, as Jalen says, keep the main thing the main thing. This night is for Martina and beating cancer, 2 different types of cancer. And yeah, I just shoehorned in a Jalen Hurts quote. There go Birds.
Fucking great.
It was great. But I'm going to start trying to do that every episode.
Yeah, please do.
I will. But Gertie calls into question, did Larsa ever even feel bad? Did she ever even have sympathy? Is she even my real friend? Because her first move here is to defend herself rather than like the fact that she can call Nicole, like I've already said, the fact that she can question things and the way that she reacted in general. Like she has yet to show empathy for Gertie at all. She has yet to show any
As soon as
sympathy.
she heard the news, she didn't show empathy.
No, she immediately doesn't. So like now she's calling into question everything. But I will say, but I loved when Larsa gets there and Gertie's going to go off tonight. She's made that decision.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Is it the right setting?
It's okay.
It's not the right setting, but you know what? If someone questions your cancer, I think any setting's the right setting.
Yeah, exactly.
So she has every right to do it, and you can feel it ramping up. She's starting to drop hints like, oh, now with the rumors, and you know Larsa is like on high alert because that wasn't directed at her, and it
She's
could
already
have
defensive.
immediately. What do you mean?
Crazy.
What rumors? It's like because you know what she's gonna say. Then she stands up. She goes, "Oh, I'm gonna have a drink. It's not on my doctor's not to do list."
Yep.
And now Larsa knows. And then we get the credits roll next week. We're gonna get the finish of this, but I hope that she drags Larsa and she has no rebuttal. I know what's going to happen. Gertie's going to go after her. Larsa's going to defend herself. We're going to get some bullshit excuse as to why it was okay that she shared the diagnosis and why Gertie's reaction is wrong. And we're probably going to get her saying something along the lines of, do you even have cancer?
Are we going to get that? Or are we going to focus on Lisa with the cops coming to her house? And we're not going to get that.
I really hope it's
If
both.
they postpone Gertie versus Larsa one
Ooh.
more week, I'm going to lose my mind.
Ooh, they might.
She
think
needs to
about
get what's coming to her. I'm
think
so
about
tired of watching her behave this way. I need to see her just get put down and no one comes to her defense. Because if anybody comes to her defense, they're also just as bad.
I agree. So I guess time will tell, Magoots. Time will tell. But that takes us to the question portion of our show. So let's jump on in. Up first, Steele, how do you feel about cooking with CBD? Would you ever do it? Yeah, I'd give it a whirl. I don't know if it'd be good. I don't know how to do it, but yeah.
I think we should sit down. And you already said that you have a friend that does it.
Yeah, there's
just
somebody I
sit
know
down.
that actually does it.
Yeah.
Um,
Not that I don't trust you, but you know.
From Joanne Beach. Guess Kyle is California sober. THC CBD dinner. Does that mean she's sober? Yeah, I believe Callie sober is sober. I
Yeah.
think that if you still maintain control of your life, I think that you get addicted to anything. But if you have control of your life, you're not, as Shooter's been saying all day, exhibiting addictive behaviors with marijuana, then yeah, I think that you are still sober from alcohol, even if you dabble in some THC or CBD.
I've got one from Clelly M. Would you each get a tattoo for the other? Get some matching bro tats.
We would get some matching bra. I would get, yeah, I wouldn't shy away from most tattoos. I'm at that point. I have enough of them that I'm like,
Would you just get a circle on your arm and let me draw it?
No, absolutely not. nothing like that.
I can
but,
draw a
like,
pretty good circle.
Would I
You
get
know
a
that SpongeBob episode where he draws like the picture of a face and then just deconstructs it into the perfect circle?
doodle bob?
No, that's
Oh.
a different one.
No. I don't know. But anyway, from Smith Mark 11, why don't y'all watch Married to Medicine? We get this question a lot. It's only because we have so many shows to cover, and we started with Housewives. That's our bread and butter. We stick to Housewives. As we've said in the past, it does not mean that we will not dive into it eventually. We've been hearing great things. We heard it's an awesome show. We're not anti-Married to Med. We are just trying to find the time, and right now is not the time because we have a billion shows.
Agreed. All right, I got one last one. This is going to send us off to the weekend. From Claudius_Life Journey. What is your prediction for this Sunday's game, Steele?
Okay. I think that this is going to be, you're going to be surprised.
Birds by a billion.
Yeah, I think this is the week that we click finally on both sides of the ball. I think that,
We're actually winning at halftime.
yeah, I don't think we're going to go in with a 10-point deficit finally. I think that
It
everything
would be really funny, though.
it would be hysterical. I would actually be weirdly confident if we do go in with a 10-point lead. I'm going to be less confident if we have a 10-point lead, just because the Eagles,
Agreed,
I'm
yeah.
always expecting the worst. But yes, I think we are going to win. I think it's going to be a solid win. And I think it's going to shut everybody up, and you'll know who the best fucking team on the planet is.
Here you go.
Go
You heard it
Birds.
here first. Go Birds.
But other than that, remember to buy tickets to our live show in New York City, January 25th at the Green Room 42 in NYC. It's going to be a blast. We need your support. Please buy a bunch of tickets, and we'll see yous all there. Follow us on our socials. Subscribe to our YouTube page at Brock Bros Podcast. You got anything else?
Fuck the Niners.
Fuck the Niners. Bang, bang, bird gang, baby. Go Birds.